regulatory bodies. Palguna. What is the? What are the liabilities? Liability. If you have taken a loan from a formal banking channel, that is the liability. If you have, but if you have not, then there is no liability. They are liable together as an SHG. So the loan that they have taken is to be repaid by all the members of the group. It is not on individual. The loan is not extended. So सीता को लोन अकेले extend हो जाता तो फिर वो SHG क्यों बनाती? So the problem was that they do not meet the minimum benchmark to get the formal credit. That's why they were forced into group. So it is extended to the entire SHG. Okay. So one more line that we have to do before we move on to the governance is regulation or regulatory bodies. So if you look at the GS paper 2 syllabus, there is one line written as regulatory bodies. Regulatory bodies are very different, and that's why they have to be dealt with differently. Because when we look at the regulatory bodies, I don't think there is anything that comes to our mind. What is regulatory body? Regulatory body is one that regulates. So is there any difference between administrative body and regulatory body? That is the first thing that we have to understand. So what is an administrative body and what is a regulatory body? Administration is implementation. So for example, let's take the case of telecom sector. So in telecom sector, as far as the government of India is concerned, the administrator of telecom sector on behalf of the government of India is BSNL and MTNL. So the task of the BSNL and MTNL is to lay down digital infrastructure across the country. That is implementation. But do you think BSNL should lay down the rules for the telecom sector? Of course not, because there is a direct conflict of interest. Because BSNL itself is a service provider and an implementer. And if they themselves lay down the rules for the sector, if they themselves are in charge of the regulation of the sector like an empire, there is a direct conflict of the interest. That is why regulatory bodies are the latest term in the governance. Because before 1990s in India, probably there was nothing that was being provided by the private sector, and everything was being provided by the government. So when the state itself provides you all the goods and services, there is no question of regulation. You can't regulate the state. State regulates everything. State is sovereign. So state was never bothered and never even questioned the regulation. But post 1991, you entered into a very peculiar economic situation where the erstwhile state, while it was rolling back itself, continued to provide a lot of services while allowing the private entry into economics. So now you had a problem, because when you expect me as an industrialist to enter and invest into particular area, I will always be bothered by the fact that there is a public sector enterprise operating and competing with me. And I will never like the idea that the same ministry which controls PSU also lays down the rules for operation in this particular area, and that's where you decouple administration from regulation. So regulation is about laying down the rules and policies for operation of a particular area of economy. RBI is the regulator for the banking sector. SEBI is the regulator for derivatives market. IRDAI is the regulator for insurance sector. PFRDA is for pension. PNGRBA is for extraction of. So you can see that there are different regulators in all these. So for example, once you create a regulator, you have to make sure that it is decoupled from the state. Because if PNGRBA is a part of the state, ONGC will have an advantage. If IRDA is coupled with the state, LIC will have an advantage. If SEBI is a part it is a part of any of the department or ministry of the government, all the publicly listed shares of PSUs will have an advantage and no one will trust the share market. Does that make sense to everyone? Yeah. So you can see that you need regulatory bodies different from administrative bodies for various reasons. One of the reasons for which you need a regulatory body is because any kind of market is liable to fail. And let's understand what are the different scenarios of market failure that you might have. What does it mean by market failure? So in general capitalist economic setup, we believe that in every kind of situation, demand and supply will match each other. But there are certain situations where demand and supply fail to meet each other. For example, in situations where the sector itself is liable for natural monopoly. For instance, supply of electricity is such a naturally monopolistic area because of the huge investments that are required. So unless and until you give monopoly to Reliance that भाई तू ही करेगा supply, चिंता मत कर पूरी दिल्ली में, or Tata Power, they will not lay down the electricity lines and meters because it requires such a huge investment. So it is government policy to itself create monopoly. So why we hate monopoly in certain sectors? In certain sectors, it cannot be done without monopoly creation. So when you lay down power transmission lines, the recovery is in 50 years because it requires such massive investment. So whoever is laying down electricity lines for you, you have to give them the sole right to transmit electricity. Only then they will be interested to invest such huge capital there. So when you have natural monopolies, the problem is that in case of natural monopolies, when you have only a single provider, you can see how they can misuse this monopolistic position later on. They can threaten the state because of their monopoly, that we will stop the supply of this good or that service where we have monopoly, and now you will have no other option because you don't have anything else. So you need a regulator to make sure that while natural monopoly, which means not artificially created or not otherwise, where you need genuinely monopolies, they operate within the confines of law to always keep them accountable and never you misuse their monopolistic position. So when Tata Power is the sole supplier of electricity or Reliance is the sole supplier of distributor of electricity in Mumbai, there is always a central electricity regulatory authority to make sure that the rates that they charge for household consumption, for industrial and commercial consumption is always accounted for. It's not too much. So this is what your cost is. This is what your reasonable profits that you can charge. That should be per unit charge. Does that make sense to everyone? While we believe that we are read and educated enough and we can read manuals, have you ever tried reading the insurance document? Try do that. अगर आपका नहीं है तो आप किसी दोस्त का या पेरेंट्स का लेके कभी पढ़ना. It must be 40-50 pages of just pure text and some graphs and some tables. And for people who have good command over accounts, I challenge you to explain to me any kind of. Namrata is from accounts, so she would agree how complicated they can be. How easily you can missell a product. How easily you can hide a genuine information that was needed to sell the product. And how easily you can pass off a product without a proper information. For like share market, there is so much of an information asymmetry. If a company is not forced to reveal its exact policy decisions, its accountancy, its data, its tax that it is paying to the government, how will you take your decision to invest in a share market? So the best investors, they do not follow YouTube channels for investment principles. They go and read annual reports of the corporate firms, and on the basis of their experience combined with the annual report, they invest. Now imagine a corporate consciously choosing not to reveal the real numbers in the booklet annual report. Information asymmetry prevents people, and that is why you need a regulator to hold everyone accountable, to try to reduce the information asymmetry, because in most occasions the consumer and the provider of goods and service, they are not on the same pedestal. So you always need an FSSAI as a regulator to force all the companies that sell food products to reveal information about nutrition, ingredients, so that we can eat anything, but we should be aware what we are eating. How much calories are we going to gain? We might not use that, that's our choice. Or at least we should know. So you can see that in order to target the information asymmetry, you should have a regulator which is able to force all the player in the market. Now, because you have natural monopoly of the state, you have natural monopolies of private, you have information asymmetry against the state as well as against the corporate. So regulatory body has to be independent of both corporate as well as the state. Correct? Also, any kind of production of goods and services have externalities which are both negative as well as positive. So a good product which reduces the price in that particular field has a positive externality. For example, Reliance Jio providing data free of cost to almost free of cost to every people initially for especially 3-4 years had a very positive externality, cutting down the digital divide. So that's why you are able to see much more diversity in the social platform, where earlier it was absent because only people from certain social sections had the broadband network, and so you would see content only of a particular type. So the inflow of various social classes on digital platforms is the positive externality of Reliance Jio. So while it is profit driven, you can see its direct impact on society. Does that make sense to everyone? So at the same time, while we could care least about positive externalities, what we should be concerned about is negative externalities. Unintended negative outcome, which was not the purpose. So Mukesh Ambani did not want these kinds of memes and reels coming on TikTok. This was not the purpose why he floated it. That was an unintended outcome. To include people on, so our internet became more inclusive. This was no, I'm pretty sure कि उनका ये agenda था नहीं. But similarly, when you go for any kind of production of goods and services, there are unintended negative consequences for which no one had thought about. Any kind of production of oil and transportation of oil has the chances of it being spilled over, creating a negative externality in the eventuality of an accident, leading huge burden on the society and the state to clean the spill, which has an impact on biodiversity, which has an impact on the water quality, which has an impact on algal bloom. So it has an impact mainly on ecology. But if it is very near to the coast, you know that underground water is directly connected to the ocean water in the coastal areas. So you can see how it might directly impact our sustenance as well. So it threatens human health also. Now the question is, once the spill has been done, once let's say a plant has met an accident and oil has leaked, the cost of cleaning the environment is way much more than the services being provided there. Who is going to take care and hold any person, group, corporate accountable for this? What if this happens to be a public sector undertaking, ONGC led plant? Who will hold ONGC accountable? So in order for a particular agency to hold both ONGC as well as Reliance Petroleum Refinery accountable, it has to be an independent of both. So that is what PNGRB is. So to take care of the negative externalities, to calculate the cost in an non-partisan way, that can only be done if you are completely independent regulatory body. Otherwise it can't be done. So what happens now is that the government opens up a market for private operation, which earlier was reserved for the state, and as soon as that market is open for private participation, anyone can jump on it, but this line is set by an independent regulator, set mainly by the law passed by the parliament. So they are statutory regulatory bodies, which defines their powers, defines their functions, which defines their terms of appointment, how they will be removed. But this is, market failure is not just one instance where you need the regulation. For sectors where even the state is absent, you can say state is absent, so there is no need for regulation. There is a need for regulation because leaving the private players themselves to operate in a particular field leads to a lot of anti-competitive practices, like coaching classes, using photographs of the people they have never taught or interacted with. We have never done that. That's why we can say this. All right. What are anti-competitive practices? For example, there are certain practices which are very, very common. One is known as price fixing. What is price fixing or market fixing? These are two different terms that are used to denote similar outcome, different procedures. We are left largely with two private telecom providers, Airtel and Jio. Let's say tomorrow, Mr. Mittal goes to meet Ambani and says कि भाई अब बहुत हो गया, अब हम मुझसे नहीं संभल रहा और आई एम श्योर तेरे को भी बहुत अच्छा नहीं लग रहा है कि मार्जिन्स इतने कम है. लेट्स डू वन थिंग, नॉर्थ तेरा साउथ मेरा, अब तू उधर सिम कार्ड नहीं बेचेगा, मैं इधर सिम कार्ड नहीं बेचूंगा. While they will not reveal this document, this agreement to people, they will not come out open in SEBI, but they will instruct their own companies to now demolish all the infrastructure from south, and they can always claim it as their genuine market policy decision. They are free to do that. Yeah. Right. So in that sense, you can see that while under their freedom of trade and profession, they are allowed to do it, but you can see that instead of two corporates competing across the country, in reality, now you will have monopoly that is artificially created. Similarly, all the drug suppliers, for example, selling the generic drug paracetamol, know and feel it very badly that one paracetamol costs less than probably 20 paise. And so if paracetamol is sold across various brand names, all of the major brand names can come together and then they say, let's all of us decide not to sell this below 1 rupees per tablet. You will have no option but to consume the paracetamol at the minimum price of 1 rupees, where earlier it was less than 10 paise. If there were a regulator who could look into these kinds of market forces and study it, you would not have these kinds of problems, and that is why you need regulation even when the state is absent in a purely market driven sector. So from the point of view of consumer, you can see that you need a non-discriminatory, independent, effective regulation of every economic mode of production. So as many goods that you can sort out, probably you need regulator for every good and services that is being provided by the society and the state. Is this clear to everyone? So you have multiple regulators in our country, especially the financial regulators. And now you can understand why the term regulation or why this term has come into news lately. Why was it not present earlier, right? So you can explain that. Why regulation is post 1991 phenomena. Ajay, just 1 minute. Ajay, just 1 minute. Yes, Ajay. क्या क्या क्या? Yes. You couldn't understand. अच्छा. Okay. जैसे मान लो अजय, there are, so for example, you know, all of us know that Elon Musk was building this rocket to replace the NASA's platform to take people, ferry them to the International Space Station. Now, for which the Department of Space Technology had given his company, SpaceX, exclusive contract. That this will not be open for Jeff Bezos' aspirations. No, we are not. We are going to do it for you for 20 years. So you develop this platform and we will use it and we will pay for it for next 20 years. क्यों किया अजय ऐसा? क्यों ऐसा नहीं किया कि अजय कल को डेवलप करेगा प्लेटफॉर्म? वाई अजय इज नॉट अलाउड टू बिल्ड? हाँ हाँ, तो अब मान लो कि एक बार अब एलॉन मस्क को कॉन्ट्रैक्ट मिल चुका है और फिर उसके बाद अब एलॉन मस्क को पता है कि यूएस में अब वो कोई काम कर नहीं रहा, तो अगर कोई करेगा भी तो उसको 10 साल और लगेंगे कर पाने में, डिमॉन्स्ट्रेट भी कर पाने में 10 साल लगेंगे। और फिर एलॉन मस्क मिसयूज करे, आर्म ट्विस्ट करे गवर्नमेंट को उस मोनोपोली पोजीशन का, कि नहीं अब तो मैं $1 बिलियन में एक एस्ट्रोनॉट लेके जाऊंगा, उससे कम में तो मैं मानूंगा नहीं, अदरवाइज रहने तो फिर तुम भी मत भेजो, मैं भी नहीं, कोई दिक्कत नहीं है, मैं सस्टेन कर लूंगा लॉसेस। सो यू नीड, अब वहां पे गवर्नमेंट का कॉन्ट्रैक्ट है प्राइवेट, तो वो रेगुलेटर प्राइवेट भी नहीं हो सकता, गवर्नमेंट भी नहीं हो सकता, राइट? So obviously, by this time, through this discussion, I think all of us might have realized as to if you want to create a regulator, what are some essential aspects that you would expect in that particular law. So you first need a law, so that the standards are laid down through a law, not through an executive order, because the executive order is liable to be amended through an executive order. A law can only be amended through another law. So because you can only amend that through a law, so you first, a good regulator is a legal regulator, which means that a regulator was laid down by a law. There are few sectors in which executive orders are also creating bodies to regulate the sector, but in most cases we have laws. For example, for RBI, we already had a law which kept on modifying with time. For SEBI, we have a law. For IRDA, PFRDA, we have laws. For PNGRBA, we have laws. So you need a law to lay down the benchmark. At the same time, when you create the law, you should create for an appointment procedure, appointment process. Just like a constitutional autonomous body, you need the appointment not to be completely dependent on government, so that not, although it will not be a state, but it will be like associated with the state if the appointment is completely driven by the executive. Correct? So you will end up deploying your own people there, and through them you will control the exercise of power and function from there. So you need to not only provide a proper appointment procedure, but also you need to secure and provide a laid down procedure for removal, at least not through just a direct government order. So just a pure ministry notification should not be able to remove you from your office, because if that happens in a law, then they will not be able to function independently, just the way governor is not able to function, because both appointment as well as the removal is controlled by the central government. Then just think about the other common traits that we discuss for a constitutional body. The terms of service, salaries, allowances, and other perks that you get should be clearly laid down in the law, and should not be available for unilateral alteration by the state. कि CTC 40 लाख पे ज्वाइन किया था, आपसे खुश नहीं है, 20 लाख कर दिया. That should not be allowed. So that the terms of service cannot be changed to your, yes, detriment. While you are in service, they can be reduced later on. Also, you should know that a good regulator is the one which has financial independence, because unlike administration, which we know requires massive investment and money, our initial perception about regulation was that क्या करते हैं ये लोग, बस 2-4 डॉक्यूमेंट बना देते हैं. In order to be able to come up with a coherent set of rules which are effective, you need huge human resource. You just don't need human resource, you need the ability to hire more human resource, and you need specialists to be on board. Because you are a regulatory body, you are not bound by the rules of the government for service. एक लेटरल एंट्री करने के लिए मोदी सरकार को कितनी दिक्कत होती है, अभी तक हमने कितने लोग हायर किए हैं, 2 डिजिट्स में. नाउ फॉर अ रेगुलेटर टू बी बाउंड बाय सच इनफ्लेक्सिबल रूल्स, it will not serve the purpose, because it has to hire specialists. I don't think there is any bureaucrat in our country in administrative service who can clearly understand the share market as the brokers themselves. So if SEBI tomorrow wants to hire a broker for policy making on their payroll for some time to help them carve out a new insider information policy. You know insider information, right? Everyone knows about insider information? Yeah. I am the board member. I know which decision is to be taken tomorrow. I ask Palguna to buy companies of my share, or maybe sell my shares. कि भाई बैंड बच चुकी है अपनी, तू बेच दे. Now Palguna will be in a much better situation having this information 3 days before other people have it. So he can misuse this information, and so all those people who had this information, they will be helped greatly as compared to rest of the countrymen who will come to know about this decision through the annual report. Some people having early access to information will be disproportionately helped. Correct? Also, when you create these regulators, they cannot be bound by the traditional bureaucracy because they are regulator, not administrators. So you cannot expect the same mode of operation there. You cannot expect the same procedures to be followed in the new regulators. Their job itself was invented 20-25 years ago. Unlike administration, which has a long running legacy of 2000 years. How to maintain law and order. लाठी कैसे चलाना है, पुलिस आज भी लाठी चला रही है, 2000 साल पहले भी लाठी चला रही थी, लेकिन रेगुलेशन कोई नहीं कर रहा था किसी प्राइवेट सेक्टर का. So administration is something which we have gotten as a part of legacy, while regulation is definitely not. So you can see that while you are creating these regulatory bodies completely independent and decoupled from executive, the problem that you face in trying to create this kind of regulatory body in a democratic framework is twofold. Number one, can there be an institution which can be unaccountable? Because when you want to ensure accountability, what kind of accountability you will ensure on them? Who will watch the watchdog? Is the main question. So for example, if your answer is that obviously they can be held accountable to the executive, you will not be able to serve this purpose. At the same time, giving them complete independence will go against the basic idea of democratic institution. So the problem that we have always faced with respect to regulatory body is to how to hold them accountable. Problem is that in most occasions in our country, what we see is that the regulatory bodies have been made accountable and controlled by respective departments. Their appointment continue to be the parent, continued their appointments are done by the respective departments of respective ministries. So, for example, members of Telecom Regulatory Authority of India is done by Department of Telecom, taking away a key element of independence. While removal is difficult, appointment is up to the wishes of the executive, making most of these regulatory bodies like an extended arm of the state. And that is why you always have people heading SEBI who are wanted by the corporates supporting the ruling dispensation. The example that we just saw 3 months ago. SEBI chairperson helping a particular corporate being held by the state also, because the appointment process is controlled by the Ministry of Finance. Does that make sense to everyone? So you can see that there are, the number one problem that we face is that the essential ingredients that go into making a good regulator have been missing in our country. Apart from that, another problem that we face is the multiplicity of the regulatory bodies in India that we have. We have, just look at the financial sector. We have share market regulation by SEBI, we have bond market regulation by RBI, we have pension by PFRDA, insurance by IRDA. All of them operate a particular kind of financial instrument. But do they regulate all kinds of financial instruments? The answer is no. Because when you lay down the law, you cannot leave it completely open-ended because it can be misused. So the area and the domain of operation has to be clearly defined. And this is what is being misused when you hear so many Ponzi schemes being unearthed by Enforcement Directorate and CBI year on year, which mobilize 60,000 crore, 1 lakh crore in some cases of the money, because they float financial instruments after reading the laws related to bond market, share market, insurance market and PFR, pension market. They come up with such a financial instrument which on paper they can prove is not being regulated in our country, and that gives them freedom to completely innovate their financial instrument. So either there is an overlap between the functioning of, let's say, SEBI and RBI, which creates a conflict between them, or there is a situation of complete void where there is no regulation. And since there is no regulation, there is complete freedom to float whatever you want to float. क्या मतलब Dream 11 regulated नहीं है? So you can see all the apps that are operating in so-called betting area, they are unregulated. No one knows how the money is being collected, under what framework the money is being collected, how are they on board every OTT platform, what kind of financial instrument is betting. You are giving money to someone, so it is a financial instrument. Is it a borrowing? Is it an investment? ऋतिक के मुझे लगता है बहुत पैसे लगे हैं जिस तरीके से वो हंस रहा है. ऋतिक वापस आए कुछ क्या? Yeah, you watch a lot of ads. And look at the kind of people they are able to hire for their advertisements. I mean, probably they create. I was looking at an ad where you had Ranbir Kapoor and I think Shah Rukh Khan and Rohit Sharma and Virat Kohli all on which ad? Amir Khan. Yeah. If you can bring Amir Khan on an advertisement, then the money is serious. So, identifying these issues, the government of India had set up Financial Sector Legislative Reform Commission to recommend the legal changes, the framework changes that are required right now to do away with these kinds of loopholes. At the same time, before that, not at the same time, you had Second Administrative Reforms Commission submitting its report on regulatory bodies. Let's go through both of their recommendation as to what they had said. When you look at the Financial Sector Legislative Reforms Commission headed by ex-RBI Governor and SEBI Chief, because they themselves had operated and they felt those issues very, very clearly. One thing that they said that they recommended is a mega regulator. Number one, that we should create an umbrella regulator in financial sector. One mega regulator which will regulate any financial transaction. So if it is bank to bank transfer, there would be one vertical within that. If it is in form of share, one vertical. If it is futures market, there should not be a separate regulator for futures market, only one. So what it will do is that it will take care of the conflict because it's part of the same institution, and it will take care of all the void because you say that if it is financial transaction, everything is being regulated. We will not go into details as to which specific instrument this is. So that will take away a lot of the problems that especially the rural India faces, where people are cheated on very easily because of information asymmetry. A lot of the Ponzi schemes could have been brought initially under investigation rather than being blown out of the proportion and become multi-state scam. Because they always took advantage of the fact that there is no one, they kept on claiming that there is no one who regulates us. FSLRC particularly said that when we were operating as a head of any of the regulators, we understood ourselves that accountability is important, but accountability to the government is detrimental. The question is, how can we become accountable? And the best solution that they came up, which was also written in second ARC. So सिर्फ हम अपने आंसर में कोट नहीं करते ARC, FSLRC भी कोट करती है ARC को. The FSLRC's recommendation was very simple. Create parliamentary committees and make regulators attached to the parliamentary accountability. Why do you think the reports of CAG have to be tabled in the parliament? Why do you think UPSC tables its annual report in parliament and not to the government to ensure its independence? Because all the parliaments sitting together in their individual MP capacity have the ability to look at the report, discuss their performance, and that discussion itself is sufficient to improve the performance of the respective regulatory body, because the member of opposition as well as the ruling party and independent people will make commentaries which will come out in public. The report will come out in public. That is more than what you need for a regulatory body. So instead of coupling them with executive, which is the case right now, which takes away a sense of independence, you couple them with departmental related standing committees. They are 24/7, they operate throughout the year. They are not ad hoc committees. So for example, if it set up few more departmental related standing committees, and then one committee will take care of the functioning of one regulator. When it comes to umbrella mega regulator, there should be one large committee because it will have a lot of function. At the same time, what FSLRC had faced was the problem of finances, because when you identify financial independence, the ability of the government to fund you also gives the government power to stop you from effective functioning by crippling the flow of fund. So by preventing the fund, your functions can be prevented. And that is why they said that we cannot take funds from corporate because we are regulating them. We cannot take money from the government because that will politicize us. What we should do is that we should charge for regulation. So when you regulate, let's say I have to float a new insurance company, the first thing that you will pay is a regulatory fees to IRDAI. They have a chapter where they show the projection with a minimal regulatory fees. They can develop more finances that the government has given them. So you can see that the revenue mobilization for expenses for taking care of their own needs can be done through a minimal fees that globally is charged by the regulators, but in India, because the government wants them to control, the government is like, nahi, paise ki koi baat nahi hai. Because government knows once the umbilical cord is cut, you lose the control. So the government also wants to keep them funding. The similar recommendations were done by second ARC, except for the fact that all the regulatory bodies should be participatory in nature, including prominent citizenry. to be a part of every regulator. Now, why is it important is because every regulatory body provides ample opportunity for the provider of good and service, never to the receiver. So that stakeholder approach is missing from regulation in our country. कोई हमसे तो पूछे कि हर महीने 298 रुपए का रिचार्ज 1.5 GB के लिए कैसा लगता है, या आपके जो डेटा चार्जेस होते हैं वो 27 दिन के कैसे होते हैं. ये वाली मैथ्स मुझे आज तक नहीं समझ में आई. वाई 28 days? वाई नॉट 30 1 month क्यों नहीं लिखते आप? या जब ब्लिंकिट डिलीवर करता है तो वो खीरे को 350 ग्राम 50 रुपए क्यों बोलता है? कभी आपने सोचा है? 1 किलो, हाफ kg, 1 kg, 2 kg के यूनिट में क्यों नहीं वो प्राइसेस बताते हैं आपको? They always reveal prices in 647 grams, 650 grams, 350 grams, never in the units that we are used to. Because they know that it's difficult to calculate the price per kg. If I tell you that this is how it will cost for 297 grams. But as soon as I say 1 kg, because since childhood you have known prices per kg. So you can immediately draw that comparison. But there is no regulator for quick service commerce. Because there is no regulator, they have this opportunity. The day regulator comes and they force us to reveal the prices in traditional units, they will have to do that. So this citizen centricity is missing from regulation in our country because of the lack of the consumer presence in the regulation. So while the document is released in public, before it is officially announced, the feedback is invited on those new policy initiatives, but there is no they're not involved then and there when even the draft was being prepared. So it would be nice if they could be included when the policy was being made. Does that make sense to everyone? Yeah. So this is about regulatory bodies. I have given everything in notes. Today we like to end the discussion right here because I have to go. Tomorrow we will start with the governance, and the governance will cover all the topics that you see, mainly what is governance, and then understanding each of the terms, that their citizen charter, grievance redressal, how to do it, what are the schemes in India, and that will probably take 2 classes where we'll end the topics on. Blinkit will be under FSSAI. No, Mayuk, Blinkit is not under FSSAI. The chips that you order from Blinkit are under FSSAI. Which chips do you order, Mayuk? Okay, all right. Cool. Any doubt for today from today's discussion? Regulation, SHG. Deepak? You do not want to regulate the regulatory bodies. You just want a sense of answerability. So for example, you are free to do whatever you want, but there are people who will ask you questions as to why you did that. So the idea is not to regulate. The idea is to avoid regulation of regulatory bodies. But whatever decisions you take, you should know there will be 10 parliamentarians towards the end of the year who will ask questions. Auditro?
Sir, regarding that self-financing of the regulatory bodies.
Right.
I didn't exactly get that.
You didn't get the self-funding?
Yes, sir. If the regulatory body has no funds from the government, how will it force any player in the market to give it up?
Yeah. Of course. So for example, whenever you go to get a license from FSSAI about floating a new food product into the market, FSSAI charges you a fees for that. Whenever you are about to get yourself listed on SEBI, on any of the BSC, NSC, there is a fees that you have to pay to the BSC, and similarly, you can pay a fees to SEBI as well. So every transaction can be charged with a minimal amount because they are massive regulatory bodies. They have the potential to generate the funds for themselves.
Would it not go against a smaller private player, maybe who cannot afford?
Definitely. So obviously the fees can be designed in such a way that it is proportional to your operation. It's so for example, a static license fees, a very small static license fees, and then depending upon your valuation, for example, depending upon the frequency of the trading, it can be, I mean, it can always be done in a way that it does not goes against the small players. Because the idea of the regulatory body is not to go against or not to allow anyone to go against small players. लेकिन जो अरित्रो जो लिस्ट कराते हैं अपने आप को, उसमें स्मॉल प्लेयर होता कौन है? ये रिलेटिवली स्मॉल एंड लार्ज. बट इफ यू अबाउट टू गेट लिस्टेड इन BSc, I don't think anyone would care about like 10 crore of regulatory fees. Riteja?
Sir, I had a question regarding SHGs.
Right.
So cooperatives, we know that cooperative banks, we know that there is a lot of regulation because again money is being pooled and people's money is at stake. Why don't we do the same for SHGs? Because here also common person's money is being involved.
Yeah.
And it should be regulated along the same lines, right? Is there a reason for that? It's just a scale of.
So the regulation of SHGs can be done through state laws, just like cooperatives. So for example, if it is just one state cooperative, it will be regulated by the respective state legislative assembly laws. And if it is a multi-state cooperative society, then it will be registered through a parliamentary law. Similarly, of course, Parliament is regulating NGO. Parliament can make the law for regulation of SHGs as well. But we don't want the flexibility to go away. The entire flexibility exists because they are not bound by or being dictated by a particular law. So once you make the law and fix a kind of regulation to secure people's money or fund, then they will, on one hand, it will ensure some protection, but a huge sense of flexibility will go away because then it will be only one way they can operate then. Rajat?
Yeah, hi, sir. So how in other countries like these regulatory bodies are working? Like,
Yeah, so for example, in US, regulatory bodies are completely corporate driven civic society organizations. Civic society in the sense, even the Federal Bank of United States of America is a conglomerate or an association of banking industry. So it is not connected to the government. It is not through a law passed by the US Congress. It is just the Chase Bank and Bank of America and 2 3 other banks, they came together to send their representatives to elect a banking, like a governor, who then regulates all the repo rates and the monetary policy. And then the government of United States of America has established an official relationship with that private sector regulator. So that is how regulation works. The representatives of the respective industry leaders, they can themselves institute a regulator. Unlike in India, which is where it is a state-led initiative, it had to be state-led initiative because you are transforming from socialist state-led economy to like a mixed economy and then aiming for private economy. There was never a concept of state doing business in anything. So since beginning, that has been the way that the regulation has been operating in US. Can you allow Mr. Adani to make rules for port operation and airport operation?
like
Okay, Rajat, what is your address? Yes, yes, Mohit.
नेचुरल मोनोपोली के केस में क्योंकि इससे सेफ्टी कंपनी किसी ऑपरेशन को मंजूर कर दिया, तो कोई सा भी एफर्ट अगर आप उसे रेगुलेट करने में डालेंगे तो वो मना भी तो कर सकते हैं उस पर वो कंप्लायंस को फॉलो करने के लिए.
Just 1 second. वापस एक बार मोहित, सॉरी।
जैसे नेचुरल मोनोपोली में
हाँ।
एक कंपनी को दे दिया,
राइट।
तो उसमें सर अब क्योंकि उसी कंपनी की मोनोपोली है, तो ऐसे कोई भी एफर्ट अगर हम उसे रेगुलेट करने में डालेंगे तो वो मना भी कर सकते हैं कि नहीं करेंगे तो।
हाँ तो नहीं तो मना, देखो बिल्कुल मना कर सकता है, लेकिन फिर उस केस में रेगुलेटर कुछ स्टेप्स तो ले सकता है ना। जैसे फॉर एग्जांपल अचानक से कैसे, देखो जब कोई नया प्लेयर किसी नेचुरल मोनोपोली में एंटर करता है ना, तो वो एक कॉन्ट्रैक्ट साइन करता है कि जो ये रेगुलेटर प्राइसेस बोलेगा, आई एम बाउंड बाय दोज प्राइसेस। गवर्नमेंट जो बोलेगी वो मैं नहीं मानूंगा, मैं जो कहूंगा वो कोई नहीं मानेगा, लेकिन रेगुलेटर ने बोल दिया कि अगर 8 रुपए में पर यूनिट सप्लाई करना है तो अब उसको आप प्रोटेस्ट नहीं कर सकते, दैट इज नॉन नेगोशिएबल। तो वो खुद ही उसने कॉन्ट्रैक्ट साइन किया हुआ है गवर्नमेंट के साथ कि गवर्नमेंट उसको मोनोपोली दे रही है, लेकिन गवर्नमेंट एट द सेम टाइम उस कॉन्ट्रैक्ट में लिखवा रही है कि सर्क ने जो इलेक्ट्रिसिटी रेट्स डिटरमाइन कर दिए वो बाइंडिंग होंगे तुम्हारे ऊपर। तो गवर्नमेंट मोनोपोली हटा देगी, बैठे हुए 4 लोग और हैं, एक अकेला थोड़ी हटा के खत्म कर देगी तुम्हारी मोनोपोली, तुम्हारा सारा इन्वेस्टमेंट चला जाएगा, वो कोई फिर सीधे अडानी आएगा। तुम अगर देना चाहते हो दे दो। इस देश में केवल एक अमीर आदमी नहीं है ना, 4 अमीर आदमी है, और वो बैठे हुए हैं इलेक्ट्रिसिटी सप्लाई करने के लिए। और अब इन्वेस्टमेंट तुमने किया, मान लो अगर तुमने 50,000 करोड़ का इन्वेस्टमेंट किया है दिल्ली में, तो तुम ये तो बिल्कुल नहीं चाहोगे कि इस डिसएग्रीमेंट की वजह से सरकार मेरा ये राइट भी ले ले। और अगर इफ यू आर गोइंग अगेंस्ट एन एग्रीमेंट दैट यू योरसेल्फ हैव साइन, तो गवर्नमेंट हैज फुल राइट टू एक्सटिंग्विश योर कॉन्ट्रैक्ट। तुम ये क्यों चाहोगे? कि तुम तो फंस चुके हो ना वहां पे। तुम तो ये तो द लीस्ट दैट यू विल वांट इज कि भाई मेरे पर राइट ही चला जाए मेरा वहां इलेक्ट्रिसिटी सप्लाई करने का। तो तुम अगर रेगुलेटर की बात नहीं मानोगे तो फिर तो बहुत ही बुरा हो जाएगा। मयूख, there are overlapping jurisdictions. That's what I explained has been misused by people. There are multiple complex instruments or financial transactions which might invite the scrutiny of multiple regulators, creating confusion.
In case of financial products, there can be regulation by CCI or SEBI.
अरे सो फॉर एग्जाम्पल ऐसे सोचो, म्यूचुअल फंड है, म्यूचुअल फंड को कौन रेगुलेट करेगा? म्यूचुअल फंड से भी, म्यूचुअल फंड समझ रहे हो ना क्या है? वो स्टार्टिंग में जिसके आता है डिस्क्लेमर आर सब्जेक्ट टू मार्केट रिस्क, वो सेबी का रूल है। नाउ म्यूचुअल फंड्स यू अंडरस्टैंड दे शुड बी रेगुलेटेड बाय द सेबी, ठीक है। अब लेट्स से आई कम अप विथ एन इंश्योरेंस स्कीम इन द नेचर ऑफ म्यूचुअल फंड्स। व्हाट आर म्यूचुअल फंड्स? Apart from being subjected to market risk, they are people who collect money from you and then you delegate them the right to invest them wherever they want. Now since you trust their degrees and their experience कि भाई ये जहां लगाएंगे वो मैं जो लगाता उससे तो बेटर रिटर्न देंगे, ठीक है। अब मान लो कि ऐसा एक म्यूचुअल फंड है जिसमें वो मंथली आपसे एक एसआईपी कलेक्ट कर रहे हैं और जो रिटर्न आ रहा है उसके बदले में आपको इंश्योरेंस पॉलिसी भी बेच रहे हैं कि सर एक बार पैसा लगाओ, म्यूचुअल फंड में भी इन्वेस्ट होगा और उसके बदले हम आपको एक लाइफ इंश्योरेंस भी दे रहे हैं। देर आर इंस्ट्रूमेंट्स लाइक दैट। सो नाउ दिस सिंगल फाइनेंशियल प्रोडक्ट हैज 2 elements. One is mutual fund and another one is insurance. Similarly, multiple mutual funds are in the nature of they are returnable in the form of pension also. कि सर आप 20 साल तक एक भी पैसा नहीं निकाल पाओगे, बट वंस यू टच द एज ऑफ 60, equivalent sums of money for next whenever until whatever time you are alive per month, the company is going to pay you this much. So now there you combine mutual fund with pension.
So in that case, it will be regulated by both.
Yeah. So PF, so मैं कह रहा हूँ conflict हो गया ना. So this is what you wanted to know, right? Any other doubt? All right then. See you tomorrow, guys. Bye bye.